everyone, this is Pramita here. Today this will be the second part of my tips and tricks video. I know some people have liked my first part, but sorry, I've been so busy the following weeks that I couldn't film the second part, and I hope you can forgive me for that because as you must have come to know by now that I'm a teacher by profession, and this is a season when the students have a ton of exams, and I had to take a number of classes, extra classes, and I have also started selling handmade journals and hand painted journals. So I had been busy with some orders, and I didn't have enough time to film tips and tricks video. So this will be my second part. Over here you can see that I have placed a number of ink pads out here. So you must have guessed by now that this will be about stamping. But no, this is not about stamping. This is about using your stamp pads to watercolor the pages. Now, you must be surprised. Now, I am not a big stamper myself. I always tend to mess up, and I have a few, OCD. I'm OCD about certain things. If it's not stamped out properly, then I don't feel like doing anything. But initially, when I started a little bit of crafting and planning and, stamping, I had accumulated a few stamp pads. Once again, I don't buy things that I might not use later on. So I had collected quite a few. I think I have about 18 to 19 stamp pads of all small sizes because I'm not a big stamper. So, but I'm not using them later on. I see I'm not using them properly. Like I'm not fully exploiting them. And they are there in my stash. So what to do? How to use them up? So I came up with this crazy idea. I have seen some people use distress ink stamp pads as their watercolor backgrounds, but I have not seen anyone use chalk ink or dye ink as their watercolor backgrounds. And I have used them and they've turned out pretty well. I'm going to show you how they have come out. And I will also show you how to use acrylic colors as your backgrounds. If there is time after doing this, the tips and tricks video on stamp pads. Okay, so let me show you this will be hopefully my March journal, and I'm in the process of setting this up. I have started watercoloring, as you know that I like to do watercolor. But these are not watercolors. These are all stamp colors, stamp pads that I've used as watercolors. You can see they have come out pretty well. I'm going to show you. This I have done with the help of packaging, which I'm going to show you how to do that. This is with the help of brush. That is pretty easy. And this page I have done with the help of acrylic colors. That I'll show if there is time. Otherwise, there will be a next installment to this backgrounds video. Okay, now let me start with the using stamp or alcohol or the dye ink pads. Now I use Mento ink usually because I have a few of them. Once again, not many because I'm not a great stamper. So what I usually do is you can just invert this the ink part, and dab it on your palette or plate or whatever you have. And as you can see, the color is, just dab it a little bit. You don't need to moist it, nothing of that sort. And you can add colored water to it. I'm just going to add a little bit of water. Sorry. I'm just going to use a little bit of water, not much, because this is a mini mister that I have. You don't need to have a mini mister. You can do it with your water brush or whatever you have. I'm going to show you how it gets diluted. Now you see how it is getting diluted. I hope this focuses. Yeah. So it's diluted and you can use it on your journal pages. Now this is my journal and I'm going to use it on its page. So it's pretty light, so I'm going to use it once more, and I'm going to use a darker color this time so you can see. Yeah, so I'm going to mix this up and use it as a background. Now you can see, but you have to be very quick with this because these dye inks, they dry up very quickly, but the color is pretty good, so you can use up your ink pads in this fashion, dye inks. I'm going to show the same thing with chalk ink. Now people might be surprised how I use my chalk inks to color backgrounds. I hope this is focusing. I don't know if it's focusing. Hopefully it is. And I'm going to use a little bit of water to it. So you can see how it's moving. Now it's your watercolor. Okay. Now you can color any background you want. I'm just going to put this aside a little bit. And I'm going to show you how I am using it to watercolor my background. You can see how it's turning out. If you have a ton of stamp pads which you're not using, you can totally use them in this way. And you know, what's the point in keeping something when you're not using it? And yeah, that's it. So this is how you can use your dye-based inks as well as your chalk inks. Whereas in the case of distress ink, I found that distress inks give you a watercolor finish. So it's not a very hard job to get this watercolor effect with distress ink. Now once again, I'm working with my distress ink. I have used this ink. This is Picked Raspberry. And I am using my mister just to move it around, not to put a lot of water because these are pretty diluted as it is. So I'm going to use it on this page. If you can see how beautiful it is turning out to be. Distress ink pads, they really give a watercolor effect to it, and dye inks do work well along with the chalk inks. You won't be able to make a big difference as such. So that's it. And then I'm going to show you how to use your packaging to color your backgrounds. So for that, of course, you'll be needing, now it's taking a bit of a time to dry up. So after it dries up, it'll be okay. Don't worry about that. So you can directly use the stamp on the packaging itself. That too can be done. I'm going to show you. This is a Mento bamboo leaves dyeing, and I'm going to stamp this on the paper itself. This is a packaging, plastic packaging, and I'm just going to use a little bit, teeny bit of water just to make it move around. And next thing I'm going to do very carefully, I'm just going to overturn this whole stuff on my page. Yes. Now you can see. Now you want it to move around, you can. If you want it to roll a bit, you can pull it out. Yeah. You can make your splashes. That's it. I hope it's visible. So this is how it has come out. It'll look pretty awesome once it dries up. So this is how I use my stamp pads to color the backgrounds. Of course, you can use them for stamping, no harm in that, but I'm not a big stamper, so I want to use up my stamp pads. This is how I do so. So this is one way. You can try it. I hope this has been informative enough. And the next one that I'll show you is using your acrylic paints. Now, some of you might see that acrylic paints have these kind of, these are not done by brushes. Like, you don't use watercolor brushes to get this effect. You do it either with a palette knife or with a credit card. You can do it with a credit card or a small blade-like structure. I use either a credit card or I use a painter's palette. That is this stuff. This is a painter's palette, and I use this or I use a credit card. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how I do this in a while. Just let me turn the pages. Okay, so I'm going to use a very cheap acrylic colors. I don't use very expensive acrylic colors for backgrounds. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit on the palette, because acrylic colors, you have to be very careful with them, because once they dry up, they will not move. So whatever movement you want from them, you have to do it while they're wet. Once they dry, they are just fixed and they're not going to move any place. So that's how you'll have to work with them. That's the only way. So yeah, so I'm going to show you how I'm just using 3 bits and bobs of colors. You need very tiny amount. It's not that you need a lot, and you just need a little bit of water just to move it around. So that's it. I don't want it. So this is my color that I have. I don't want it to move much, and I am going to do it like so. So now I'm going to use my palette knife. You can use this, you do the same thing with your credit card. You can do the same thing with your credit card. Just smear it out. That's all. And the funny thing about acrylic colors is they don't bleed through the next page. They make the paper pretty stable, so you don't need to worry. But these are all smudges. You know, it's going to give you a smudge effect on your page. If you want to use another color, you can just put it out here. You can also do it in this fashion, that you put the color on the page itself. But that way you have to be very careful with the amount of water and the amount of color that you're putting, because as soon as you start putting the color, as soon as it dries up, it will not move at all. So whatever movement, whatever pushing and pulling and smudging, whatever you want to do, you do it while it's wet. Otherwise it's not going to move at all. See how I'm smudging the whole stuff? You can just take off the excess and then put it somewhere else. Yeah. Now I'm making a mess of everything. Okay, so this is how you can create backgrounds with acrylic colors, and these are fairly quick to dry, and you can journal in them within 15 to 20 minutes. See how our pages have dried up. I hope this has been informative enough, and so bye for now. If you have any questions, please comment in below, and I'll try to get back to them as soon as possible. So bye for now. Thank you.